Okay, now that I'm recording my screen, let me go to the repository. But yeah, before we begin, this is the quick layout that we're gonna build out first. As you can see, we have a text that says tip calculator. Then we're gonna include an image. Then we're gonna include a label, bill amount. You're gonna see how simple it is to add this, and we're also gonna include a text field where the user will enter how much their bill is, and then a simple thing label to display text called tip, and then we're gonna use this label to display the tip amount after we choose a tip percentage from this. And this is a segmented control, and we'll be going over that once we begin the demo. And then simple another text that has the text total, and then another label that displays the total amount once we calculate everything. So let's give it like 2 more minutes and I'll begin the demo. And as you can see in the demo or the repository for the demo, I've included some prerequisites. So in order to code with Swift, you do need a Mac OS device, so like a MacBook Pro or an iMac, because that's what Apple requires you if you would like to build with Swift. So we've also included for Windows users, you will need to download a VirtualBox in order to download Mac OS system. But yeah, so the steps are there if you want to do that, but it is a lengthy process. It takes a certain amount of time, but I think we can get started unless anyone has any other questions. But okay. So I also included the steps, and below each step I've included images in case you get stuck. And we'll see in further steps, I've included videos as well. If you ever got stuck, yeah. Yeah, I began recording it. Yeah, so I've also included videos at the end of each step if you ever got stuck or have any questions. But I think we could begin. And throughout the demo, just feel free to stop me if you think I'm going too fast. So step 0, we're gonna first open up Xcode. So once you have Xcode downloaded, just open it up wherever it is, wherever you save the file, let's open it. I have it in my below, so I'll just click on it. Now we should see something pop up on the screen, and once it pops up, this is the main Xcode screen. Let's click on create a new Xcode project because we want to create a new project. Click on it. Now let me resize this. Okay, next you'll see this step 3. You'll see this sort of pop out that asks you what template you want to use for your project. We want to use iOS because we're building an iOS app, and then under application, we click on app. So iOS tab and then the app option, and then we could click on next. Now we should see a pop-up asking us what we want to name our project. I'm just gonna say tip calculator. You feel free to name it whatever you want. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a short name. And then the only other things you would need to worry about is the interface. This is gonna be a storyboard where we display the user interface. I'll go over that in a bit. And then the language is obviously Swift. You can also write in Objective-C, which is similar to Swift, but it's much older. So once you have that, we could click on next. Yeah, so name, interface, and language. Then we could click on next. And now asks us where we want to save our project. I am going to save it in my desktop, and I'll just click on create. So just like that, we've successfully created our new Xcode project file, and now we could begin writing code and working on a user interface in our storyboard. And the videos are there in case you ever get stuck. So let's go to step one. Now we're going to be creating our app design. So in order for this, let's head to our main storyboard where I talked about in our slide. You'll see a screen in the middle. The screen in the middle represents our main screen. So with Swift, Apple allows us to show a simulator, like an iPhone that will display on your screen. So in order to do that, let's click on like in the middle section, allows you to, it gives you a bunch of options on what screen you want to use. I'm going to say Apple 13 Pro Max. And in order to run this simulator, click on this triangle button. And we're going to see that our main screen is going to be white. It might take a bit to load. Yeah. Cool. Yep. So since we haven't added anything, no components yet, all we see is the white screen. And yeah, it doesn't matter which simulator you use, up to you what you want to. You could even use an iPad. There's that option, iPhone 7 and up. Okay, so now let's stop our simulator from running. Let's continue. So step one, we're gonna add our first component. So in order to add components, we must go to the library. The library is this the middle section, the top right corner. If you scroll over it, it's gonna say library and it's a plus sign. So let's click on it. Now we should see a pop-up with a bunch of options. If you click on each option, you'll see what they do. Label, we're gonna use, so for our first thing, we're gonna build, we're gonna drag in a label. So in order to do that, let's go back to our library. Just click on the label and then drag it onto your screen. And you'll see that you'll be able to put it wherever you want, and then Xcode also tells us if it's in the middle. So we're going to include some text. I'm just going to say Computer Science Society. Write some text, so just click on the text. And simple as that. Now we have text. So we have this text, and now we want to bolden this text. So in order to do that, let's click on this label. If you click on this label, you'll see that you have a bunch of options. So click on it, and now you can change the text. You can change the color of the text, the font, but I just want to bolden for now, keep it simple. So in order to bolden it, locate the font section, click on T. Under style, there should be a bold option. Let's click on that and click done. So simple as that. Now we've boldened our text, and let's center it. So next, we have this text. Yeah, I put Computer Science Society. It's okay. You could put tip calculator if you want. Now we want to drag in an image. So let's go back to our library, the plus button. Let's search up image. And you see that the description here says it shows us an image. So let's click on it and let's drag it to our screen. Make sure you put it straight in the middle. So now that we've dragged in an image component, in order to actually display an image in this component, we have to include an image. So in this repository, I've included a CSS logo image. If you scroll all the way to the top, if you go to CSS logo, if you click on it, you'll be able to download it. So download that real quick. And now let's go back to Xcode and let's go back to our step. Okay, now let's go back to Xcode. Now on the left side of the screen is where all our files are located. Right now we're in the main storyboard file in our main screen. But in order to add images to Xcode or to our project, there's an assets folder. And in this assets folder, you'll be able to drag in any image you'd like. So I'm going to drag in the image I just downloaded, locate it, and then just drag it in here. Simple as that. And you can also click on it and you can change the name. I'm going to change it to CSS logo because your image should be CSS logo. It should be on the left side of your Xcode, the assets folder right here. Maybe yours is closed, but in order to open it, you click on this top left button. So once we have our image, let's go back to main storyboard. Now, similar to our text, when we clicked on it, we had a bunch of options. Same thing with the image. If we click on it, now we have a bunch of options. Let's locate the image section. Let's click the blue button, and now we should have the image that we just added. So now we just click on it, and just like that, now we have an image in our first screen. So after that, let's see what else we have. Now we could add in a bill amount label. We know how to add a label already, and then a text field. So let's do that. So let's go back to our library. Let's drag in a label. Let's drag in a label, click it, drag it onto your screen, place it wherever you want. I'm gonna push it more to the leftmost part of my screen, and I'm gonna change this text to bill amount. And click enter. Yep, and now it's saved. Now I want a text field, and this text field is gonna be used for the user to enter any bill amount, any number. So let's go back to our library. Let's search up text field. Let's click it and drag it. And just like that, we now have a text field, we have a label and images. And if you run our app, you'll see that everything that we did in this main controller now shows up on our simulator. But right now they don't do anything. So we have an image label, bill amount label, and we have a text field, and in here we can enter anything. But right now we don't have any logic to it, so it doesn't do anything. So let's go back to our main storyboard. Oh, one other thing. So we're gonna use this text field in a bit. So let's go to our view controller scene section. This scene section is right next to the screen. If you click on everything inside the view, this view represents this entire screen, and everything inside of it, click on it, you'll see it shows you what's in the screen. So the image, the bill amount label, and then the text field. So let's locate the text field. Let's click on it. Let's change the name to bill amount text field, just so we could stay organized. Okay, and then once we have that, now we have a tip text that we want to add, and then another label. So 2 more labels. So let's go to our library. Let's drag in a label. Let's rename this to tip. Click enter. Let's drag in 1 more label. And this is going to display in the tip amount once we click a percentage. And we're going to give it a default text of 0. So once our app first runs, the first text that's going to show is going to be 0 for this specific label. And one other thing, let's increase the width. So in order to increase the width, just click on it and you'll be able to extend its width. And place it wherever you like. Simple as that. And since this label is going to be changing value once we have added some logic, we're also going to change its name. So let's locate it, click on it, go to our view controller scene. Let's change his name to tip amount. So the name of whatever name you want to give your label, and then it's good practice to rate what type of component it is. Ours is a label, so we're going to do tip amount label and save it. Okay, we're halfway there. Now we're moving on to the segmenting control. So let's go back to our library. There's search up segmented control. Click on it, drag it, place it in the middle of your screen. And you see how Ours has 3 options, but the default option that Xcode gives us is 2 options. So in order to give it more options, let's click on it. So similar to our image, it has its own options. So segmented control has its own options. So let's locate the segment section. Right now it has 2, as you can see, we have 2 sections. The first section is named first, the second is second, but we want to give it 3 sections. So let's give this a value of 3. Now we have 3 sections. We could extend its width. Now, in order to change each name, you would just need to click on the section. I'm going to name this 15% as we're going to be using this for our tip percentages. We're going to name the second one 20% and the third one 25%. Now, if we run our app, now you'll be able to see what the segmented control does. So if we click on 20%, now we're on 20% and then 20%, 5%. And later on in our demo, we're going to do something that once we click on a percentage, it's going to calculate our tip amount and then our total bill amount. So let's go back. Now we have 2 more labels, a total label and then a total amount label. Oh, then also good practice to name this label. So let's go to our view controller scene. I'm going to name this tip control. Yes, and now let's go back to the library. We're going to add in 2 more labels. This first label, I'm going to give it some text called total. And then the second label is going to display the total amount. And we're going to give it a default value of 0 again. So the first text that this label is going to have is 0 once the app runs. And let's extend its width. If you don't extend it, you'll see your text is going to be truncated when we run our app. Or maybe I could show that in the end too. So let's run our app one more time. And you see how simple it is to create a user interface as opposed to writing code, which would take you a little bit longer. But right now, nothing happens whenever we click on anything, right? So now we're going to, wait, before we get to that, let's go back to Xcode. And now we're going to move on to the next step. And this step, in step 2, right, so like I mentioned right now, this label doesn't do anything. Tip amount doesn't do anything. The segmented control doesn't do anything. And the total tech label doesn't do anything. Let's give this label, this total label and its own default name. I'm going to say total amount text field, just to stay organized. Now in this next step, we're going to connect each component that's going to change its value. So we know the 4 components that are going to change is the text field. This is going to change when we select a tip percentage, that will change. And the total label here is also going to give us a new value once we calculate everything. So in order to do that, let's head over to our library button. Right below it, you should see a button that has about 5 lines. If you click on it, its name is Adjust Editor Options. If we click on Assistant, now we're able to see see if I can increase the width. So now we have a view controller file, and this view controller file can also be found on the left side of our screen where all our files are located. So now we're going to be connecting each component, this bill amount text field, this label, this segmented control, and this third label to this view controller in order for us to actually do something with each component. So we're gonna start out with this text field. So let's click on this text field. Then let's go to our view controller scene section to the left side. Click on the text field. Make sure you're on the right component. So click on the text field. In order to connect this component to this file and to give us some logic, first click on it. Click Control on your keyboard. Click Control, and then click on the label, and then drag it to your file, just like that. So press Control, click on it, and then drag it to your file while still holding on to Control. And then let go. Now we should see a pop-up asking us what we want to name this outlet. We're gonna give it a similar name to what we named it here on the view controller scene. So I'm gonna say bill amount text field. And make sure the connection says outlet, and everything else should be default. And then after that, we'll just press connect. And just like that, we've now connected our first text field component to our file. So in a bit, we're going to be using this bill amount text field. And we're going to be giving it some logic so that whenever a user enters a value, we'll be able to calculate the tip. And just to break this down, IB outlet stands for, it just is Xcode's way of telling us that we've connected a component to our view controller. Then we don't need to worry about weak var, but now we have the name that we gave it once the pop-up came up. And then a UI text field is the type of the component. A text field type is text field or UI text field. And in order to see the connection that our file component and our main storyboard component are connected, you would just need to drag over this button next to the line of code. And we see that when we click it, it's connected to our screen, to our main screen. Now we're gonna do the same thing with our next label that its value is going to change. So let's click on this tip amount label. We're gonna do the same thing. Let's click on it, click Control, click it and drag it to your screen. And make sure all outlets that we do are above this view did load function. So let's give it a name similar to the name tip amount label. Make sure there's no spaces. Make sure the connection is outlet. And let's click on connect. Just like that, we've connected our second component. But this component, it's an IB outlet, but it's a label. As we saw in our library, this is a type label, and this first one was a type text field. And let's check that the connection actually worked. Just scroll over the circle type button here, and we'll see that's connected successfully. So now in this file, we'll be able to write some code using this tip amount label and bill amount text field. So now we have two more connections that we have to make from our main storyboard into our view controller file. So the next one is our tip percentage. So same thing, locate the tip control in our view controller scene, click it. Well, first press Control, click on it, and then drag it onto your screen while still pressing Control. Let's give it a name of tip control, no spaces. Make sure the connection is outlet, then let's press connect. Now we've connected our third component, and you'll see the type of this component is UI segmented control. And let's see if the connection was successful. It was, as we can see here, it's connected. Now we have one more component that we want to connect, and that's this total amount text. Total amount, let's say label, because it's not a text field. Is this total amount label? So let's locate it. Let's go to our view controller scene. Press Control, then click on it, and then drag it into your view controller. And let go. Let's name this total amount label, no spaces. And make sure the connection is outlet, then press connect. Is the connection successful? It was. and the type of this component was label. So now we've connected 4 components, our text field to our view controller, our tip amount label, our tip control, and our total amount label. So now in a bit, we're gonna be writing some code using this here. And each line represents a component from our main storyboard. But before we do that, there's another thing known as an IB action. So IB outlet, and then there's something called an IB action, and I'll explain this in a bit. But in order to do this, we're gonna create an action in our segmented control so that whenever a user clicks on an option like 20% or 25%, something will happen. We want something to happen once we click on it. So let's locate the tip control in our view controller scene. Press Control, click it, and drag it right below the view did load function. Let's give it a name of calculate tip, because we're going to be calculating the tip inside of this outlet, IB action outlet. And make sure the connection says action as well. Name it calculate tip, no spaces, and press connect. Now, do you see the differences between an IB action and an IB outlet? An IB outlet's a simple connection from your main storyboard to your view controller file, but an IB action is a connection from our main controller to our view controller, from our main storyboard to our view controller, but it allows us to enter some code and logic of what we want to happen whenever we click on an option in the segmented control. But yeah, that wraps up this. And now we could begin entering some code in order to use every connection that we've added into this file. So we're going to be using each component that represents each component in here in this file. And also check that the connection was successful. It was. You just scroll over this. It was successful. So now let's move on to step 3. Okay, so now we're going to be writing some code. The code is located here. It's a bit blurry. So the first line of code that we're going to write, now we're going to be getting into actual Swift code. So we're going to create a constant variable, and all constant means it's immutable, that you won't be able to change its value. So in order to write a constant variable in Swift, you let the system know that it's a constant by writing let. So all let means constant, and we give the variable a name. I'm going to give it a name of Bill. And we're going to save in this constant variable whatever the user enters in this bill amount text field. So, and we're going to set that equal to, now we're going to access this bill amount text field, and we've already connected it here. So we're going to say bill amount text field, and we're going to access the text that the user enters on .text. And then I'll explain this in a bit. We're going to make this a double. I'm going to remove this just so we have more space. Okay, so just to break this down, when a user enters a value, the value that they enter will be a string. So we're accessing the bill amount text field label, but we want to access its text. So in order to do that, we do bill amount text field dot text. I'll just include this. We're not really going to go over what this means today, but we know that whatever the user enters, that's going to be of type string. But we want to make it into an integer value or double value, and all double value means is a value that has decimals, and an integer value has single digit values like 1, 3, 100. And with doubles, you have decimals like 10.50, stuff like that. So we want to make it into a double because we want to calculate, we're going to be doing some math with these variables. So that's all we did in this line. So right now we have whatever the user stores in the bill amount text field in this variable. So let's say the user enters a bill amount of 100. Let's just stick to that for now. Now we're going to create another constant variable called tip percentages. And then this is going to be an array that stores the percentage values. So 0.20. Okay, so if you're familiar with arrays basically store various memory in it. So in this first index, this is one box of memory. And in order to access this, we know this is the first index of an array. The second one is the first. So index 0 is the first box. Second box is index 1. And this is going to be important because we're going to be using this in a bit. And the third box is going to be index 2. So we're going to be using this to represent the segmented control option values. It'll make sense in a bit. So now, let's say the user selects percentage. Yeah, and in order to write comments, you just do // and you'll be able to write any comments on words. Let's say the user enters selects a tip percentage of 20. Now we're going to calculate this tip, and this tip is going to be displayed in this label here, and we've connected that label, I believe. And it's called tip amount label. So we're going to create another constant variable called tip, and let me write this code down first, and then I'll explain it. Okay. So not sure why I'm getting error. Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot to add this though. Question 0 means if no value is entered into the text field, the default value that we want to give it is a 0. So that's all this line did. And then we're getting this error because we haven't used it because the variable is unused. So Xcode lets us know with that yellow error that this variable hasn't been used. But in this line, I'm just gonna extend this for a bit. So in here, when the user goes to the tip control and selects, let's say like 20%, this is how we access its index or the value of that tip percentage. So if we go to our tip controller, 50% right now has a value of 0, 20% has a value of 1, and 25% has an index value of 2. So if we select tip percentage 20, this practically means it has a value of 1 right now. So 50% value of 0, 20% value of 1, and 25% value of 2. Similar to an array, similar to the array we did. Value 0, value 1, and then 25% value 2. So right now, if we clicked on 20%, the value would be 2. And then we're saying, go to the tip percentages array and select index 2, since we know this equals 2 if we select 20%. Then we go to the tip percentages array, we go to index 1, and this is the value that's going to be stored in this line. And then we're just multiplying 0.20 by the bill amount, and we know the bill is 100. So if we multiply 100 by 20, right? We've selected 20, that gives us $20. So right now, $20 is stored in this this constant variable called tip. And again, we get this error saying that we don't have anything stored. Yeah, so we've stored the bill amount in this line. Then we've calculated the amount that's going to be displayed in tip with these 2 lines. And let me know if you want me to go over this line. I could do that, but if not, we can move on. Next, we're gonna calculate this total amount. So we're gonna add the value that we have stored in this bill amount text field with the value that we just calculated from tip and add it into this label. So let's create another constant variable. Let's call it total for total amount, or you could call it total amount, up to you. We're gonna say add the bill that we've stored plus the tip that we just calculated and save it inside this total variable. So we know that our bill is 100. The tip right now is 20. If we select 20% as our option, total equals to 120. So when we run it, if we select these options, 120 should be displayed in this text field. And now, so now that we've calculated everything, we've got the bill, we've got the tip amount, we've got the total amount. Now we actually want to display them in these two labels, right? Because right now they have a default value of 0. So let's do that. In order to do that, we know the name of this tip, we've connected it, of this tip label is tip amount label. So let's copy that. We want to input a text, so similar to what we did here. We want to access that text, and we want to set that text to, let me write this code real quick, and then I'll explain. So right now we know tip has a value of 20, and we know that value is of type double. So right now tip is of type double, and we want to convert the tip, which is of type double, to type string. So that's what we're doing here. Similar to what we did here, you just type double and then in parentheses in between. That's how you convert a string to a type double. And in here we're converting tip of type double to a type string. And in this first parameter of format money sign.2f, we're just letting Xcode know that to round to the nearest 2 decimals. So if we got like 12.855, it's gonna round to 0.44. That's all we're doing in this first parameter. That's how you round to the nearest 2 decimals. So we're converting tip from type double to type string. Simple as that. And now we're gonna do the same thing with total amount label. So now we've given this text field a value, tip. Now the value is going to be displayed. Now we want to give total. Oh, I missed something. Yeah, that's right. So it's money sign percentage. And that's going to round to the nearest 2 decimals. Thanks, Andrew. And now we're going to do the same thing to our total amount label here. We want to send it a value of what we already calculated. So we know this tip amount label is going to display 20. So now we want to access this label, and we've named it total amount label. So let's copy that. Same thing, we're going to access its text. We want to give it a new text. And we want to convert whatever we enter to a type string, because we know it's going to be of type double. And the first parameter, we want to format whatever value we insert to the nearest 2 decimals. So we're going to put in this code, and then the second parameter is what we're passing in. And we're passing in the total amount, or total. And yep, and that's basically all the code that we need in order to display. But let's let's go over it one more time. So in this line, we created a constant variable called tip, called bill. So whatever value the user enters into the bill amount text field, we're accessing a text. So if the user enters 100, this currently is of 100, but this is of type string, and we're converting it to a type double. And we know double has decimals. And then this next line, we've created a constant variable called tip percentages, and it's currently in an array that has 3 values that each represents a percentage. So in this first element of index 0 has value of decimal 0.15. Second element of index 1 has value of 0.20, and this third element of index 2 has a value of 0.25. And then this third percentage is where we calculate the total tip that would be displayed here. And in order to calculate that, we've accessed the index that the user selects. So the user selects choice 20%. This index, this value would be 1. 50% would be value 0, and 25% will be value 2. But we're selecting 20 just for this example. So we're gonna do tip control that select this selected segment index, and that's gonna be a type 2. And then we're going to the tip percentages array, and we're accessing its first index. And we know index 0 is for 15, and then index 1 is for 20. So right now, this line of code has a value 0.20, and then we're multiplying 0.20 by the bill amount, and we're using 100, and that gives us a value of 20, and 20 it's stored inside of this tip value. Oh, good catch, good catch, Andrew. That's right. Okay, and then this next step, now we want to store the total value with the first bill amount, and then with the tip added to it. So and this value would be displayed in this label down here. In order to calculate that, we just add the bill of 100 plus the tip. We know the tip value, its value would be 20, so total would be 120. And then now in order to display these two values that we just calculated into our main storyboard, we first access the label that we want to insert it into. We know we want to insert it into our tip amount label. Access its text, and we're setting equal to the tip, and then we're converting the tip to a string of type string because we know it's a type double, and we're doing the same thing with the total amount label with the total variable up here, and we're just converting it to type string. So now if we run our app, right here, run our app. Let's see if we did everything right. Okay, so first step, bill amount, we enter a value, we said 100, right? Now, if you remember the calculate tip, this segment to control does an action. So whenever we click on it, everything inside of the action is going to be calculated. So if we click on it, let's say 20%, now it calculated everything for us. So you see the tip amount displayed, the total amount is displayed. And if we click on, let's say 25%, it calculates that for us as well, and then displays everything. You can't type in your text field. Maybe double click on it. That might help. If we let's enter another value. Same thing, whenever we click on it, our logic in here calculates, just like that. And yeah, that's the main thing that we're gonna do for this screen. And now, like I mentioned, we're gonna do something with our launch screen. In our launch screen, if you look at this simulator, it's basically the same thing as an iPhone. You could access your photos. You could access the settings page. And then in order to close an app, you just similar as an iPhone. So let's run our app again. I believe I called it Tip Calc. So you see this, never mind. So you see this first screen, you saw the first white screen, that's our launch screen. And then after the launch screen, it takes us to our main screen where what we just did is located. So in order to do that, so we don't need this file anymore, so we could exit out. On the left side where all our files are located, we should see an option called launch screen. If we click on it, you see there's a completely new different screen. So in here is the white screen that we just saw when we closed our app and we ran it. White screen. So in here, we're gonna include a text. So let's drag in a label, give it a name of whatever we want, Computer Science Society Club. Well, let's make sure it's in the middle. I want to bolden it as well. So click on T, style, bolding it, press done. Make sure it's in the middle. It is. And now I also want to include the CSS logo. I actually want to bring this down a little bit. So same thing, go to the library, search up image, drag in the image. If you click on the image, we get a bunch of options. We've already downloaded an image in our assets folder. So let's locate the image section. Let's click on the CSS logo and we have our logo displayed. Okay, I think we do have time for this. So now we're gonna be giving a couple of constraints. And the constraints are used to position components in your screen so that whether you use like an iPhone 7 or iPad, that component is going to be located in the same place in all screens, regardless of the screen size. So let's select the image. We're going to give it a width and height constraint. So let's click on it. Let's go down here below the mini screen. Let's click on the add new constraints button. If you scroll over it, it should give you an option. So add new constraints, let's click on it. I want to give this image a width and a height. And I want to give it a width and a height of 250. So in every iOS device, the width of this logo is always going to be 250 by 250. Next, we just need to click add to constraints. And now we get a default. Right now it's an error. And we know that because it's showing us red. So right now the width and the height aren't being calculated, but they will be calculated once we've horizontally and vertically aligned this component. So let's click on the image again. Now we're gonna center the image directly in the middle. So let's locate the align button down here. Let's click on it. In order to center it right in the middle, let's give it a horizontal and vertical constraint. And we could give it a value of 0. And we're gonna see what these two values would mean. Now you see, now we get a width of 250 and a height of 250, and it's horizontally and vertically aligned. And if you go to your view controller C, you can see what constraints we gave it. And each line represents a constraint. So if we click on this, that's a constraint. The width is a constraint, and then horizontal constraint as well. And that's all. Basically, how you add something to your launch screen. So now let's run our app. Now the first screen we should see should display this. You see right there, it displayed this for like a second or 2 seconds, and then it goes directly to our main storyboard screen here. Yeah, so let's look at our launch screen one more time. Let's close the app, let's run it. First screen is our launch screen. Yep, and that's all steps you would need to take in order to give a style or a user interface to a launch screen. But now, I think, yeah, we have time to do something for the logo. So right now, the default image for apps is this weird looking image, but we want to give it a similar logo, a CSS logo. So in order to do that, let's go back to our GitHub repository. And I've included, if you scroll all the way to the top, there's an icons folder. Download both of these icons. They're named 40.png and 60.png. I'll get into what they mean in a bit, but let's download them. And then let's download the other one as well. And then this will be the last step for today. Okay, once we've downloaded that, let's head back. And again, just a reminder, every step has a video if you ever want to go back to it or are stuck. Okay. Great. Okay, so in order to add an app icon, now that we've added the two images that we want to use, we go to our assets folder again, located on the left side of Xcode. If we click, there's a default option that Xcode gives us called app icon. If we click on that, you'll see that we have a bunch of options to add in images. We could add in our custom image for our iPhone notification, a custom image that would be displayed in our settings. Same thing for iPad, an image to be displayed in our iPod Spotlight. But for now, we just want to give an image to the app icon. So in order to do that, let's locate where we just saved the files that we just downloaded, and let's drag it into our assets folder. So let's drag it. Oh, no, so that was my fault. So let's click on app icon again. And I've included, the reason why we're not using the CSS logo, because the image format for the images that we need to go in app icon are different. And I've included a note below that goes into more detail into why we need to include different formats for each image for the app icon. But for this example, in order to, you see this image has a size 40 by 40 px. That's the default size of this image. So let's click on the 401 image. Let's drag it where we see 40 times 40 px. If the right image, if you didn't use the right image format for each image here, Xcode will give you an error, or it'll give you a warning, a yellow warning. Now let's drag in the second image directly where it says 16 times 60 px. We don't get any errors because it's the right format. I've already made the images into the right format. That's why we're not getting errors. But I've included a note if you would like to make the image to your own, to the correct format in this link here. But now if we run our app, we should have a logo. So let's close it. Let's run our app again. Sometimes you have to run it a few times in order for the logo to be displayed. Okay, so it's not showing up. So in order, sometimes we could delete the app similar like you would in an iPhone. So let's remove the app. Click on delete app, and let's run it one more time. And yep, that fixed the issue. And now we're able to see the app icon on our home screen. Yeah, and then at the end of the demo, I've also included more iOS resources also includes videos on creating a Netflix iOS app, programmatically writing code, which is a second way of writing Swift code, and then also a link to CodePath's free iOS course. So let me quickly talk about that, but that was all for the demo. I will be sharing the Zoom recording via our Discord and via an email tomorrow. But just to wrap up, because I know you guys have class, so CodePath does offer a free iOS course. And the app that we've actually built today is the app that you will need to submit in your application when you apply to this course. So if you guys follow this demo would like to, you would just need to complete every step in that demo, and then you would submit that app if you apply to this course. So that's the reason why we, so spring applications usually open. So the course will be open around end of this month, December the latest. And we'll share it in our Discord through email or the opportunities channel or Discord whenever the course opens up. Yep, and in this course, you're going to be building 3 iOS applications. you would be building a Twitter clone app and an Instagram clone app and a movie list app. But yeah, that's basically all for the course. It's fun. It's semester long. It's like a regular college course. You would have assignments due at the end of every week, but it's definitely worth it, and it's free. The link is on those slides. I think I shared the slides earlier today. Maybe I'll share it in a bit, but yeah. So like I mentioned, the app that we built today would be the app that CodePath tells you to submit in your application. And just to end, club announcements, we have our next workshop is in 2 weeks, and that's Tuesday, November 8th. And this is going to be a cybersecurity workshop. And we're going to be doing a couple of demos demonstrating capture the flag. So make sure you have your laptops ready for that if you're interested in cybersecurity. And
all resources talked about during the workshop will be inside the iOS development GitHub repository, and the recording will be shared in an email sometime tomorrow. Now, as for the presentation slides, on Discord, he mentioned that he has already posted. Now, the link is in the announcements channel. So just feel free to go there. On the announcement channel in our Discord. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day. We'll stay updated on our Discord. Thanks for coming today. I'll see you guys.
Thank you, Leander.
No problem.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
We're here if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask, so this is my first time.
3, 2, 1.
What was that?
Yes.
Sorry, did you have a question?
Yes, sorry, I wanted to ask, this is the first time I'm joining the class, and I believe there were a few sessions before. How do I access those recordings?
Are you in our Discord?
I'm sorry?
Are you in the club's Discord?
I know.
Okay, so I'll email you all the, or you can send me your email and then I'll send you where everything is located.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, just send your email in the Zoom chat and then I'll reach out to you.
Oh, please.
Thank you.
If you have not already, be sure that you've already put your name down on the attendance sheet. That's really important.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. I'll be reaching out in a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Yep, just send me your email in the chat. Sounds good. I'll reach out and send you all the resources as well. No problem. See you guys. I'll be closing the meeting now. Yep, I'll send it to you as well. Let's meet on. And okay, I've got everyone's email. Thanks for coming. I'll see you guys in our Discord in our next workshop. Bye.